Today I'm going to show you a great method for getting your spring garden soil ready for planting in a fast manner. Let us begin. The first thing you'll want to do is find some sort of way to loosen your existing soil. Assuming you've never planted a garden where you're planning to this year, more than likely the soil you're working with is very compacted, so you're going to need to loosen that up. There's a couple different methods you can use for loosening your soil. You can either use something like a Broadfork, which I'll show here, or you can use something that's a little more aggressive like a tiller. Now, I'm not going to get into too many of the technicalities between these two different methods in this video. I'm going to keep it concise and just move along. So first step, loosening your soil. Second step is going to be, as a good initial weed barrier, we decided to put down cardboard. The first layer I put on top of the cardboard was a mixture of different animals. We had a friend who had a bunch of aged manure and some old compost piles that he had on his homestead. So we were able to get some really good stuff as the initial layer. Some of it's a couple years old, so it was a good start. Getting some sort of manure that's aged preferably, or if you're planning on doing this way ahead of time, you can go ahead and put some fresher manure down as long as it's going to sit and break down before planting. Now let me interject and say there's lots of different ways you can do this, as with all things in life. I'm going to show you the way we did it because we found it to be a very quick method, and we just moved to this house. We're just planting our first gardens here, so we're really kind of starting from scratch. The next layer of compost I used was actually from a mulch yard, and it was a much more refined compost mixed of aged horse manure, grass clippings, and leaves, all broken down, and really nice compost. So since it had been processed much more, it's not going to have as much nitrogen as that aged manure that I put down first. But I find layering these things is a really good idea to give your plants come springtime a really good balance in the soil to provide nutrients without it being too hot with nitrogen. The final step as far as the soil is concerned is that I decided to put mulch on top of this. This is going to cover all of that dirt properly so that it holds moisture well when it does rain or whether I water the soil from time to time. And as it locks that moisture in, it'll create a great environment that'll attract worms and all kinds of microorganisms to start going to work and just making the soil really receptive to the plant life that's going to be planted in it soon. And it too will break down and slowly become dirt over time, but it's going to act as a great first layer to protect all the soil from drying out. Now, if you're watching this video and it's very last minute, let's say you're a couple weeks away from wanting to plant and you really need to jumpstart your soil, you can follow all the steps I just laid out and then throw on this final addition of laying something like a layer of black plastic over your beds for those couple weeks before you go to plant. You're gonna need to take off the plastic, say every few days, and just lightly water the soil and the mulch and everything, because you don't want it to dry out too much. But once you put that plastic back over it, it's going to lock in that moisture well. So just monitor it once a week or so. Now, I understand if you don't want to use plastic, that's completely fine. But if you are in a pinch and you're trying to just figure out how to get your soil optimal in a short amount of time, many people using this method and it being very successful. We've used it before on a couple projects and it's worked really well. This year I am getting our garden started a little ahead of time, so I might not end up using it. We'll just see how it kind of goes with the weather, how much rain we're getting, and how the beds are doing. I have some links in the description below for some of the supplies for this job. Feel free to use those links. I hope this video has been helpful for you and bring some peace to your game planning. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.